The Kenyan government now says all the missing people have been accounted for after a dam that burst its walls killed more than 40 people earlier this week. Emergency operations have now been scaled down at this site in the Kenyan town of Solai. Dozens of people were killed when the Patel Dam burst, sending flood waters into the community below and destroying homes and farmland. Thousands of people are displaced, and authorities are investigating the tragedy and might seek to prosecute the dam's owner. CGTN's Penina Karibe has been keeping tabs on that incident. She's joining me live from Solai in Nakuru County for the very latest on that incident. Penina, the government now says all the missing people have been accounted for. The death toll is at 40. So what's the latest on the ground?
Well, Beaches, we are currently at the Solai Center. It is a shopping center that served the two villages that were completely wiped out by the water. And behind me, there is currently an interdenominational service that's going on to honor the dead and pray for the families of those affected. We've also heard not too long ago from the regional government saying, like you mentioned, they have now scaled down the search and recovery efforts, saying the death toll at the moment stands at 45, and saying that they now need to focus on providing humanitarian assistance to the affected families that are currently pitching tent at the displacement camp just a few meters away from where we are. But right there is the center of controversy really for the residents of Solai, because they say they have a total of 40 people still unaccounted for. Just this morning we spoke to a lady that my colleague Voldikar also had followed sometime immediately after this disaster happened. Her name is Rebecca, and she was looking for her 4-year-old son, and I spoke to her this morning and she said she still hasn't found her son. I spoke to another gentleman and he said they were looking for 3 members of their families. They've gone to all the mortuaries in Nakuru. They haven't found him, and he is not at the displacement camp where all the other people are. And so they're saying they've spoken to the Red Cross. The Red Cross says, according to them, says it should give them a bit like 2 days perhaps to continue looking for these people and see if they can trace them. But in the midst of all of these tragic tales of loss of lives and tragedy, Beatrice, there's incredible stories of survival, such as Paul Mwangi's. We spoke to him yesterday, and he talked to us about how he was caught completely unawares by the water, completely buried in the mud, and then managed to come out alive. Here's his story.
68-year-old Paul Mwangi is now homeless. The Patel Dam bursting its banks swept away his house along with the entire village. He's not returned to the place where his home once stood until now.
At
around 8 in the evening, I heard a loud bang. I thought it was just rain like we had witnessed earlier in the afternoon. I was alone in the house. I decided that when I finished my chores and had my dinner, I would go to bed. When I woke up, I found myself very far from my bed, buried up to my neck in mud. All around me, there was just water. I couldn't see the end of it. Another wave of water came in and pushed me free of the mud, carrying me to a shallower place. I felt around with my hands and realized I was touching grass.
Paul had only seconds to think of a way to save himself.
I crawled from the mud and the shallow water, holding on to some trees. There was debris all over me. Trees and broken homes were blocking my way, but I held on because I knew if I let go of the trees, I would be swept away. I finally managed to get out of the water and rush to my neighbor. His house was not affected. Since I was sleeping when I was swept away, I arrived at my neighbor's naked. I asked for a shawl to cover myself. My neighbor washed me. My whole body was covered in mud. Everywhere, my eyes, my ears, my mouth. Even now I can still feel a bit of mud in my ears. I was later taken to hospital, where I stayed for 2 days.
This empty space accommodated 6 homesteads, all of those families very well known to Paul. When the waters came raging down that fateful Wednesday evening, everything was flattened. The ferocity of the water still evident on the trees around here. Most of Paul's neighbors died.
I am alive. God is great because he has saved me, and I will praise him my entire life.
A remarkable story of survival. But with thousands displaced by the flooding, Paul is one of many who have lost everything else. Penina Karibe, CGTN, in Solai, Nakuru, Kenya.
So, Beatrice, there's been overwhelming response from all over the country. This morning we went to Solai Secondary School. It is acting as a displacement camp, and the Red Cross officials there told us they are overwhelmed by the supplies of food, clothing, beddings that have come in from really all corners of Kenya. And now they're appealing for cash donations and construction materials to help these affected families, the displaced ones really, to reconstruct their houses. Now, like I mentioned just a while ago, the regional government had a press briefing, and they said that they're now calling on all the affected families who lost their vital documents such as birth certificates and identification cards to register themselves at the command center, because they will facilitate them get these documents again. Also, they mentioned that there will be an interdenominational memorial service next week on Wednesday, and after that they will announce the burial preparations for the 45 killed to give them a decent send-off. They also said that they will give those affected some cash and food supplies for at least 3 months before they work out a comprehensive compensation program. Beatrice.
All right, Penina Karibe, following that tragedy for us in Kenya there at the Nakuru County in Solai town.